Hello, this is Brian J. And what's good, everybody? I'm here to talk about Gennady Golovkin and why he was so overrated. I didn't want to talk about this fight because I was going to boycott Golden Boy Promotions, but I really do like Canelo Alvarez as a person. He seems to be a good stand-up guy. He seems to be a great ambassador for the sport, but I hate Golden Boy Promotions because Golden Boy Promotions to me is a racist promotion. They have racists working there, and De La Hoya is a scumbag. Who I don't know if is a racist, but he's done a lot of terrible things that have added up for who he is. He was a great fighter, a great champion, but he to me he's no better or worse than Donald Trump. And if Oscar De La Hoya wants to run for president, he doesn't have my vote. I'm never voting for him. Anybody who does, any Democrat who does, to me is no different from the Republicans that voted for Trump. But I have to talk about Gennady Golovkin and this fight. Like, the first fight, I thought was a 50-50 fight that could have gone either way, mostly because Canelo gassed out in the fight. He got tired. He gassed out in the second half, and you could give Golovkin 6 or 7 rounds. I thought Canelo, the first time I saw the fight, I knew it was going to be a draw. The second time, I thought Canelo won 7 rounds. The third time, I gave Golovkin 7 or 8 rounds. And that's mostly because Canelo gassed out, and Golovkin was countering really well. He was landing some good body shots, landing a lot of bombs. And I thought that he was hurting Canelo a little bit more in the second half, and that he was just more active and landing more body shots and landing more jabs. And he was just landing more, and he was more active in the second half. And I thought that he probably edged it out during one of my viewings, my last viewings of the fight. But yeah, Golovkin, he's just not a great fighter, man. I mean, he's a good fighter. He's a really good fighter, but he's just not a great fighter. He's very one-dimensional. Even his Eastern European style, he just jabs, and he doesn't fight as well as Canelo on the back foot. If you're backing him up, you could counter him throughout all night. You could counter him. You could land some good shots, and you could just beat him to the punch. And what Canelo showed in the rematch was real Mexican style. Like, even though Canelo showed a lot of great defense, was ducking and slipping a lot of punches and countering really well, and the whole Mexican style of coming forward and taking punches to land one is it's a stereotype for Mexican fighters, but that's what most Mexican fighters really do. But a lot of Mexican fighters are great counter punchers, like Canelo Alvarez, like Mikey Garcia, who's Mexican American, or Juan Manuel Marquez, who really was Mexican. From Mexico, he was a fantastic counterpuncher, had a great defense. He just wasn't as great as Floyd Mayweather. But Juan Manuel Marquez was one of the greatest of all time. But Canelo Alvarez is a Mexican counter-puncher, but he showed Gennady Golovkin what Mexican style looks like. Canelo Alvarez stood his ground. He stood in the center of the ring. He was coming forward, and when Golovkin would land a punch, Canelo would land a punch right afterwards, which would disgruntle Gennady Golovkin and ruin his confidence. It's like, oh, every time I throw a punch, I'm getting hit. Every time I'm throwing a jab, I'm getting countered. And, Golovkin is trying to bend down and protect his body. His body was hurt by Canelo, because you can see the way Gennady Golovkin was reacting to the body punches. Every time Canelo was trying to feint to the body, Golovkin would bend over to trying to block a body punch. Like, Golovkin, he was just getting schooled in the first half. In the first half of the fight, first 6 rounds, I gave Canelo 4 rounds. And the second half, I gave Canelo rounds 7 and 8 and round 12. So I had 7 rounds to 5. That was my first viewing. My second viewing, I had 8 rounds to 4. I gave Canelo rounds 7, 8, 11, and 12. So I had 8 rounds to 4. But look, Golovkin, he put up a great fight. He went toe-to-toe. He came on strong in the second half. He hurt Canelo, I think, in the 10th round, and he almost knocked him out. He came very close, but Canelo just bit down on his mouthpiece and came back and almost won the last 40 seconds of the round. He was landing bombs too, and he was coming on strong, and Golovkin didn't know what to do. It's like, I usually knock people out with these punches, but when he saw how Canelo reacted, he was like, I don't know what to do. Like, Golovkin had this look on his face like, man, this guy is still coming forward, and he's still walking me down and landing big shots. But Gennady Golovkin is an overrated fighter. He was never number 1 pound for pound. Yeah, he had 20 title defenses, but against who? You look on his resume. Just look at his resume when he won the WBA belt. When did he win the WBA belt? He won the WBA belt, I think, in 2011. Yeah, he won the WBA. He got the interim WBA belt 2010. He won the WBA belt in 2010 against a guy named Tapia, Wasn't a great fighter. Knocked him out. He knocked out Kasim Umar. Umar was okay. I liked him as a fighter. But look at these other guys, man. Do you know these people without doing any research, without doing a Wikipedia post? There's Gabriel Rosado. So for the WBA belt, he defended it. He won it in 2010. Defended it against Kasim Umar. So he has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, that's a draw, 18, and he lost. So Gennady Golovkin has 18 title defenses, which is great. That's the second most title defenses under Bernard Hopkins. But against bums, man. He's fought bums. That's what Gennady Golovkin has fought. It's bum city. He's a bum killer. That's what he's done. And he didn't beat Daniel Jacobs. I mean, I admit that fight could have gone either way because of the knockdown. You know, if you give Golovkin 6 rounds and he wins because of the knockdown, but or it's a draw. But I give Danny Jacobs 7 rounds. I thought he won 7 or 8 rounds during my last viewing. He landed more accurate punches. He landed harder punches after the 4th round. After the 4th round, I gave Danny Jacobs almost every single round except for the 12th. Except for maybe the 11th and 12th round. So I had 8 rounds to 4. In the first 4 rounds, I had 2 rounds apiece. Golovkin got the knockdown. Danny Jacobs won every round except for the 11th and 12th. So it was 8 rounds to 4. I thought Jacobs won the middle rounds. But and Saul Alvarez was a draw. Like most people thought Golovkin won, but officially it's a draw, regardless of how you feel. He knocked out Vance Martirossi, who is a bum now under Edmund. Edmund Trevor is the boxing coach for Ronda Rousey. So Vance is a bum now. And Gennady Golovkin knocked him out in 2 rounds. Who cares? Who cares? Vance hadn't fought in over 2 years. He lost to Lara, and he's a bum now. And now Gennady Golovkin has lost to Canelo Alvarez. And Canelo Alvarez has a deeper resume. And he's just a better counterpuncher, a better all-around boxer. And Gennady Golovkin, he was never on the level of Floyd Mayweather, never as great as Bernard Hopkins. I mean, just forget Floyd Mayweather, because Floyd's a welterweight. Let's talk about just middleweights. Gennady Golovkin wasn't as great, he doesn't have the great resume that Bernard Hopkins has. Wasn't as dominant as, Carlos Monzon was. Carlos Monzon never lost he never lost a fight as a world champion at middleweight. He wasn't as dominant as Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler fought greater fighters. He fought pound for pound Hall of Famers. Marvin Hagler beat Roberto Duran. He knocked out Tommy Hearns. He lost to Sugar Ray Leonard, but most people thought he won that fight. So Hagler fought better fighters and better opposition than Gennady Golovkin. Bernard Hopkins also fought better fighters. He knocked out Felix Trinidad, one of the greatest of all time. Knocked out Oscar De La Hoya, one of the greatest of all time. Hopkins won all 4 belts at middleweight, became undisputed champion, and was the lineal champion, the ring champion, the undisputed champion. Hopkins beat fought the best of the best, and he beat all of them at middleweight, and he lost twice to Jermaine Taylor, but still, Hopkins was very dominant. And Gennady Golovkin is just as good as Kelly Pavlik. And you got people telling me that Kelly Golovkin would beat Bernard Hopkins. No, Bernard Hopkins, fighters like Golovkin were tailor-made for somebody like Hopkins. Hopkins could beat guys like Golovkin very easily when he was in his mid to late 30s. Hopkins dominated Kelly Pavlik. Kelly Pavlik hit just as hard as Golovkin. So, I'm just happy that the hype train that of Gennady Golovkin is over. He should have probably 2 or 3 losses by now. But he's 1-1. He's got 38 victories, 34 KOs, 1 loss, and 1 draw. I'm happy that the hype train is over. And Abel Sanchez is a freaking idiot. And, yeah, I'm happy. So, good for Canelo Alvarez. Congratulations to him. Not congratulations to Golden Boy Promotions because they suck. They're a shitty promotion. But congratulations to Canelo Alvarez for winning the fight. And, I'm glad that Golovkin lost. And this is Brian J. Shout out to the LDBC. And signing off for now.